Burgess and Bolton's weekly wrap-up.
Hello, Ben. I pressed the wrong button.
You pressed the wrong button again.
That's because we were just chatting about jingles and which one to use.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that was one of the lesser important things we discussed in the content of the show, wasn't it? Jingles.
Yeah. Jingles, sound effects. There we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of Burgess and Bolton's weekly wrap-up, where we look at everything to do with technology, change, innovation. This week, we're going to reflect on a couple of events. It's been busy. We had TINtech on Tuesday and your claims event yesterday evening, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And we'll have some takeaways from that. And then we'll also look at some news, as always. So let's start. I saw this came through today, Ben, which was a non-news event. Exclusive, say City AM. Lloyd's of London quietly shelves Blueprint 2 to rethink strategy.
What's next week? So they've got a new chief exec called Patrick Tiernan.
Yeah, I think so.
Exclusive.
Exclusive. Yeah. Christmas this year will be in December.
John Neal's not going to join AIG.
Yeah.
That'll be the week after. They're really up with it, aren't they? They're on it. They're ahead of everything.
So, yeah, 8:23 this morning. The shock news.
But which one are they talking about? Which shelving are they talking about? Because there's been effectively about 4 shelvings.
Yeah, that's it. So anyone
that they quietly shelved it? They just said they were shelving it, didn't they?
Yeah, they shelved it.
Do you think this means, though? Let's just be charitable to them. Do you think they're saying something that's new that is actually it's finished completely?
No, the main report says that the team have been disbanded, the Blueprint 2 team, but that happened at the end of last year.
Sure. Yeah. So we know it's all over. It's just
and nobody talked about it on Tuesday. There wasn't even a mention.
No, nobody now. People. The only time people say it to me is in a kind of don't talk to me about Blueprint 2 thing.
Yeah.
Don't talk to me about Blueprint 2.
Take your Blueprint 2 and sling your hook.
Yeah, that's how it is.
There you go. So yeah, a bit of non-news there, but some real news this week is Zurich bids for Beazley. So last week, I think it was last week or the week before, the Beazley board rejected.
Yeah, we talked about it the week before, didn't we? Where I said it would go through.
Yes, that's correct. And then even though it had been rejected, and then this week, news came through that they'd agreed terms, which is pretty much there, I would have thought.
Yes, I mean the only things that can happen. The things that can happen are another bidder could come in,
right?
A rival bid, higher bid. There's due diligence to do as well. Sometimes they do fall down these deals on due diligence. I think, if I remember right, I think an RSA. God, it might have been Sompo, one of the Japanese companies, I think was going to bid, and they on the due diligence decided against it because of some big claims that were coming through.
Right. Okay. So
I don't think that's going to be the case for Beazley. I think it's a pretty clean business.
Yeah, I think so as well, and I don't think they would have announced it.
No.
It's
pretty massive, but it's a massive thing. Yeah, it's a massive deal. I mean, 8 billion is huge, and it's just big. It's big in brand terms. It's big.
I think it's good timing as well. It's
well, we did discuss this at Christmas, didn't we? That there would be a bid. So I think we got the wrong one. I said it would be Lancashire was my bet, but I didn't rule out that it would be one of the other 2 quoted companies.
Yeah.
So I think that's fine. I mean, they're saying Conduit Re. So Hiscox and Lancashire in play, and also Conduit Re apparently. So anyway.
Yep. And this is a good slide that you sent through. So looking at kind of market market share. So
yeah, this has already. We've actually done it. There was an article published in the Insider about probably 10 days ago, actually now, which they did some analysis on the ENS market, and this data was in there, so it's not. It has been out and about a little bit, but basically, this is our kind of hypothetical view of what the Beazley Zurich combination would mean in terms of the share in the London market of all classes of businesses. We've got if anyone wants it, give me a call if you want the more detailed analysis, Zurich or Beazley. So this shows that they would have a nearly 10-point lead over AXA XL if they combine, and that's a net positioning. So they'll probably be operating on the separate brands, but it doesn't matter, because effectively they will have a fairly dominant position in the market. But it'd be very interesting now to ask where brokers' heads are, where, with all of this going on, because we've got Sompo and Aspen in there. We haven't shown the Star and IQ. Inigo's gone to something called Radian, which I think is a washing powder, but anyway, it's apparently an insurance business.
Good.
Or a financial services business.
Yeah.
So you can get your insurance at Radian, and that's all this stuff is happening, and brokers are going to have to sort of say, well, right, okay, so who's got what products where, and so on. So it could be good. As always, I think brokers will react as less choice, perhaps, but maybe bigger scale on the global side. So there's perhaps a pro there, given the way the market is going. So this is all to do with pricing and margins and technology, all driving this toward the conclusion that scale is going to be the key strategy for big insurer, for insurers. Basically, you've got to have relevance, you've got to have scale. Global.
Do you think this is the last of the consolidation moves, or do you think it's the beginning?
No, I think this will trigger more, because Beazley's gone, and that was the biggest of the three quoted UK businesses. There's some speculation in the Reuters articles today about that Hiscox. The first thing they say, right, is they're all different businesses, so you can't extrapolate from the Beazley price, which was the highest, I think, almost the highest price, if not the highest valuation in terms of price to the tangible net asset or book value, basically. So the price paid over the value of the business was the highest ever, which is, I think, to do with the brand, I think to do with the mix of business and products that they have, and so on. So that shows, that goodwill and brand does matter, and it's worth investing in. Everybody who's not doing it, and they then do. They were talking then about others, so Hiscox, they say that, Hiscox is a large retail business, which could be attractive. And that is a very competitive space. I think they're thinking, though, personal lines, but they have Hiscox has a good SME business as well. So, and Beazley doesn't have a bad SME business. I haven't run the numbers on the UK market. So actually Zurich and Beazley in the UK market might now actually overhaul Intact, I think, which is the RSA merger.
Yeah.
And now that was the big thing vaunted, that you go from 3 to 4, but now you've gone 5 players. But so what I can imagine, because there's this thing going on in the UK market where there's a kind of, you sell specialty stuff as well as the vanilla stuff, so cyber, I suppose, would be called specialty in that space. So, and there is perceived to be big opportunities. So, I think I can say, it's been published, is that Chubb has now got a very big push in the UK mid-market. So, we talk about the big differences between London and UK, and like they're just worlds apart, and they're not really. They're just a continuum.
Yeah.
You can see this in the mergers. I mean, there's, you've got. I mean, Zurich has a good, big sort of smaller business, personal lines type stuff, as well as now the specialty. So they're not, the executives are not going, oh, we're either one thing or the other. They'll say we'll do the lot.
Yeah.
So.
So watch this space then is the.
Well, I think so. I mean, I think there are big European players who can afford this and will look at this Zurich deal, whether they can feel that they're in a position to integrate a business like a Hiscox, for example. But you could buy a Hiscox and run the brand for quite a few years because the brand's well invested, as is a Beazley. So,
yeah,
I can imagine now they'll do, Hiscox Beazley part of the Zurich group, which is kind of fine. And then at some point it may well just go to Zurich Specialty or something.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, that's what I would probably do.
Yeah.
So you max out the brand and it glides then into the new brand.
Yeah.
Is how it tends to work. And not always, because things like the Chubb Ace one was very different, where they did something completely different. Intact is another one where they've gone for a new name. Now that's kind of hard because you've got to get brokers to sell that in when there are other household names.
Yeah.
And that's not easy.
Yeah. I was quite surprised that they did that kind of rebrand after with RSA, that Intact.
Yeah, I mean I mean they're going for it, and that's good, and they're trying to be a refreshing, different alternative to the big three, and that is definitely potentially very attractive and appealing. But they're going to have to build that brand over quite a long time so that it beds in. They're going to have to spend a lot of money on it.
Yeah. Good. So we will watch the Beazley deal with Zurich, but we'll also watch the others as well. Let's pick up on some other things. So as I said, we've had a busy week of events. So we had TINtech London Market on Tuesday, and I just thought I'd give you a few insights from the day that I picked up. I've put together a blog post, and I've actually put the link in the description, so anyone on LinkedIn can just click the link and see the full thing. But if you remember a few weeks ago, Ben, we talked about the pre-event survey, and there were some kind of key takeaways from that pre-event survey. So certainly shift away from AI hype, and we'll talk a bit more about that after your event yesterday, because that was really interesting. Legacy and data foundations are still a bottleneck, and operational efficiency is kind of a near-term goal, I suppose, for that. I think interestingly, those themes did come through, but there was, I think, and you said this last night, which was interesting. It was a technology conference, but nobody talked about technology. It was about change, it was about delivery, it was about execution, and how you overcome those real blockers. So I really enjoyed the conversations because they seemed to be grounded in kind of business language rather than techie language. And I thought some of the keynote presentations were, honest and insightful, and painted a picture that we all recognize in whatever jobs we do, that the world around us is changing, and we're trying to feel out how the new technologies and ways of working are going to be grasped. The opportunities are going to be grasped, and how we avoid potential pitfalls. So I thought it was good event. What did you take away from it, Ben?
Yeah, I was only there for the half day, but I saw the keynotes and then did a couple of sessions in the morning. And I think, to be fair, I think most of the themes would have been covered. I know there were some interesting things in the afternoon which you told me about, but the keynotes I think were Well, certainly, I think Jamie has and has kind of said this before, is that the London is got to step up, which is a good message, really, on the technology front. And I think there was that sense generally. I'll come back to that. And I think the Christian from Marsh, his keynote was very interesting in the sense that it was really about as you say, about the human element and the people, and that and I think that it continued from there, which is there's no real point in using new technology if your data's no good, basically. So I kind of took that away, that just creates more of a mess. So there was a thing about almost all about the fundamentals, wasn't it, really, about getting it right before you start and not get carried away with the shiny new technology that is AI, even if it is quite impressive. I took away, I think, I don't know if you got this too, that agentic was quite different from just AI, that there was quite a lot of potential in agentic in terms of helping and supporting and stuff on the customer side as well. So that did seem to be an area of interest, albeit I don't think there's yet much going on in that area. I don't know if there were many use cases yet, but that did seem to be something that the group of people were interested in. I've all week, I think, talking about different aspects of this. I think it feels a bit like we've kind of walked out the door, and there's a deluge of rain or whatever, and we're stuck in it, and we're kind of trying to work out how we're going to get to the place we're trying to get to, and it's all kind of happening, which I don't think I've been. I mean, maybe the internet, .com boom was a bit like that, although I remember that was also seen as a bubble. And, there's headlines this morning again about the bubble. But I think there is, as we've said before, kind of much more sense of this is being used at the human level. So it's happening. We're not waiting for something. It's actually sort of going on. The bigger questions were really about how do you corporatize it? How do you help it to make you more effective and efficient? There's not yet much as ever on the customer side of things. I think that was quite weak, as always, from technology conferences, I'm afraid. I don't think they've ever met a customer, most of them. Sorry if any of you are listening. But meet a customer now and again. Because I think there's always the throwaway lines, aren't there? Well, this will be great for customers. But we need more than that. We need to know what are the customers wanting and requiring, and are we going to meet those needs? One other thing that I think was really good out of Christian's talk was the nailing this thing about we're a product business and we've got to get the products right. And the more we focus on the products, the better. I completely agree with that. I think that's the future, is we've got to stop talking vaguely and abstractly about lines of business and, lines of capital, really, which it kind of goes back to, is we've got products, right? They're products that do things for customers ultimately, and they help solve problems. And I think the industry could do well by, particularly as we go through another technology phase, that we kind of say, right, these things that we're going to get, they're going to be understandable for customers and clients around the world, so that they buy more of it and they use it more.
And I think that was a really good point that was actually carried on in conversations throughout the course of the day. And that was around this kind of mindset shift that you've just kind of framed there, Ben, away from kind of project management and small products to thinking more fundamentally. And that kind of brings us on, I suppose, neatly to kind of your last night's claims social that had a case study around utilizing AI in claims. And that was, the reason I enjoyed that so much is because it was very much rooted in that kind of, we are delivering this, to enable people to service customers better, we sell. And I thought that was great, actually.
Yeah, and I think it was, so it was Convex talking about, this, and we'll put some more out on that paper on what they said. But I think you're right. At a high level, it was thoroughly thought through, wasn't it? And I think that is something you often don't get. So I think I felt we were moving away from the kind of cliches of AI discussions into much more grounded thinking around how will we deploy this and where will we use it, and this idea of a convergence really of humans and technology, and that is, and I mentioned it last night, it is that diagram I've shown and nobody's ever taken any notice of it. It just shows how far ahead of the curve I am typically, like on my own on a beach on Mars. I sometimes think, but it is that moving sweet spot now where we're in the phase of moving away from the operational. And so what people are really saying, I think, is actually, you know what, we may not need all of this tech and this computing and this administration, because it will actually become much easier. And I think there were some comments I picked up from the claims survey from your conference, where people were rightly saying, well, why do we need to outsource anything in future if the technology can do it? And that's quite striking, because of course there's been a massive move to outsourcing because there's not enough people, or they can't deploy enough people to do the job of claims administration in many of the big insurers.
Yeah.
But what if AI does suddenly start to reverse that? You get more control over your products back as an insurer, because so you could reverse the outsourcing shift and own your product much more. I mean, the thing about obviously outsourcing claims for any product really is it's hard to retain your brand and all your your proposition around it, because you kind of, someone else is managing it. And so I think that's again very interesting, is that the possibilities are huge, really.
Yeah. There was an interesting comment that somebody said to me ahead of breakfast briefing, which when I was asking, around this kind of change in mindset about how we deploy this technology, and to your point there, people are looking at the total cost of the operating model. So an outsourcing solution to a problem, that comes at a cost. And it might be cheaper. However, you're not actually investing in your own capabilities by just choosing that option. So he was almost saying that is the price you pay for not investing in your organization, whether that be technology, training of people. So it's that flipping the kind of argument, rather than going, what's the cheapest way of doing it and just getting it over with, going, how are we going to operate this business in the next 5 and 10 years, and what do we need
agree.
To do?
Yeah, I mean, I think you want to own. I mean, I talked to somebody this week, and actually at your conference, whose claims, but they said that they'd brought back a big chunk of business in-house on claims that they'd outsourced, and it was running massively better according to them. It was delivering much better outcomes for their customers and brokers and things. And so I think if you can own and control it, it's much better for your brand and the value of your business than outsourcing. And you're right, I think the total cost of outsourcing is not usually, it's hard to estimate over the lifetime of that outsource arrangement, but it's quite easy to cost it at the beginning. And the other thing I think the outsourcing, I don't want to stray too much into outsourcing, but the other thing that outsourcing should do is it should be doing what AI is doing, is freeing up staff to be innovative and so on. Now, we haven't seen that despite a lot of outsourcing. What we've seen is just a lot of outsourcing. And then, concerns from the regulator about whether they're any good or all that sort of stuff. So
Yeah.
I don't really think that outsourcing has delivered much more than a small cost saving and reduced an admin burden. It hasn't added, it certainly hasn't added any value that I can necessarily see. It may have kept this, kept things together on hold, but not, it's not moved us forward, put it that way.
Yeah.
And so maybe, I guess the point is you could see that happening, not because TPAs do it, but because it gets brought back in. You should get Andy Pedler on to talk about that.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, it's interesting how kind of people are reassessing kind of their operating model. It was quite interesting. I think you might have been in the session where we were talking about this kind of pendulum swinging, from as the soft market starts to kick in. When it's a hard market, we haven't got time to do it. We just need to sell. And when it becomes a soft market, we haven't got the resources or the
money.
And they said there was a slither of time where you needed to kind of really understand what you wanted to prioritize in terms of either investing in technology or change or whatever it was, and just be kind of focused, almost laser focused on that.
Yeah. I mean, if you go back to the Zurich Beasley deal, I think that is probably a sign that things are changing a little bit. And they've moved quite quickly on a deal that they've tried a few times over the last year or so. Okay, not all of that was public, but they've gone for something that's slightly cheaper, but they haven't kind of waited till it's all rock bottom.
Yeah,
they've kind of gone for it on a strategic basis, not just a price basis. And I think that's interesting because that shows there's very definite strategies that are beyond just, can we buy a book of, a large business with big chunks of, insurance business, So I think that is changing, but historically, yeah, absolutely. They've never fixed the roof when the sun was shining.
Yeah. Good. So busy week this week. Enjoyed it a lot, although I'm looking forward to the weekend. Ben, should we talk about population?
Yes.
India overtakes China as the world's most populous country.
Yeah, I just thought this was, a nice little interesting end to the week to have a look at some stats about population, which I know. I mean, I've kind of been seeing a few articles about, the population, and then there was this stuff with Trump about Greenland and that the maps don't show Greenland in the right proportion. So this is kind of what led me to this. There's a bit of debate, by the way, on this one about where places are put, like Egypt is in Europe, Middle East, where actually someone was saying, isn't it in Africa, etc., etc. But don't worry about the marginal differences. The big number is India has overtaken China with 1.429 billion people. I don't always think of it as that. I mean, I think of it as big, obviously, but not that big. I've tended to, if someone said 50-50 guess, was China bigger than India in population, I'd have said China.
Yeah, probably.
Definitely, and if someone had asked me what the population of Australia is, I'd probably said about 80 million or 100 million, when actually it's only 26 million in, Wow. So, and quite a big place. And then Nigeria, 224 million, it's nearly up with America.
Yeah.
It's Nigeria.
It's very interesting, isn't it, when you look at these? Yeah, like Poland, you don't think about Poland as being a 41 million, and we've got 67.7 million.
Yes, we're sort of big for a small place. Big population for a small place, which I know you can obviously tell that when you're in London. Very busy. Yeah, so what else were we looking at? Oh, Brazil, yeah, pretty 216 million. That's a lot.
Yep.
Didn't realize that was that big.
Indonesia as well. It's like,
yeah, I did kind of know Indonesia was big, but nearly 300 million. It's not much. it's not much smaller than America, is it? Really? Well, I mean, 50, 60 million, but it's still. I don't meet many Indonesians, do you?
No.
Someone must be in Indonesia. I mean, a lot of Indians, a lot of Chinese descent people, but not. I don't think I meet many Indonesians.
No.
And I meet a hell of a lot of Australians, considering how many of them there are.
Yeah. Cool. That's a good. It's a good infographic, isn't it? That
It is a good infographic. I think it's a company called Information is Beautiful. They're very, very good at this sort of stuff. They produce beautiful books, which, if you like data and visualization of data, which part of the reason for showing this, of course, is that's what's coming to our market. A lot of data visualization people coming to look at how do we interact as humans with all these systems, all these new types of screen with brilliant data on them. How are we going to, be in the right place at the right time with the right data?
How do they count the people? Do they?
Well, that's a really good question that I can't answer. I think they probably have censuses or sensi in most of these countries, because they register births and deaths, don't they? Of course, so they go to most of them will register that, although it'll be a bit patchy in some places. But I think most of the world now is quite good at that sort of data.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you register a birth and you register a death, you know how many people you've got who are alive in your country.
Yeah.
And what sex they are and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So that Indian database is pretty big.
Yep. Good. Okay.
How many people in the London market? Working in the London market?
Wasn't it 60? The London Matters report came out this week, when we're going to talk about that next week, I think. But I think that had a number, but I don't think it said working in it. I think supported.
Yeah, I think it was 67,000, but 73% of them in London and 73% of them are somewhere else.
Right.
At home.
Yeah. Working at home.
On Zoom.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, so that's quite a big number.
Yeah.
And that's grown quite a lot, apparently, according to London Matters. Anyway, I know we're going to talk about it. We don't want to spoil our London Matters discussion, but that's a decent number, isn't it?
Yeah. Perhaps
with AI, there'll be about 15 when that comes in.
Super. We're all working at home. Yeah. Collecting our, what is it? Minimum, what do they call it? If all the robots do the jobs, and then the government just pay us a minimum wage.
Yeah.
At home.
Yeah. That's it. Well, that could happen.
Could. It's a long way off, though, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah. From TINtech, it would seem to be. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Good. Okay. What are you doing this weekend, Ben? Anything good?
I'm not doing anything good. I'm doing not very much at all, actually. Yeah, I'm going to have a bit of a rest, I think.
Well, I got the notification yesterday that the hosepipe ban has been lifted.
Oh, has it? I haven't had that notification.
Yeah. It was exciting news in the office.
Probably because I found the water leak in my house last week.
Yeah, now you've plugged the leak.
Yeah.
We can now use hoses. So that's good.
200 I was using 28,000 litres of water a month.
Oh, God.
That's 228 showers. I worked. ChatGPT told me.
Brilliant. Yeah, so I'm gonna power wash the flags because they are very slippy and dangerous.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Power washing could happen. I've got a fence to do.
Nice. Good. Excellent. Well, whatever you're doing this weekend, enjoy yourselves, and we will be back next week. To talk about London Matters, I think.
Yeah, and whatever else. More mergers, maybe.
Maybe.
Mandelson, we could have on the thing.
Oh, get him on the show?
Starmer. Yeah, Epstein. Everything next week could be up for grabs.
Yeah, good. I'll look forward to speaking to you about all that stuff. Right. See you next week. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye.